All right, I think we're going.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, everybody, we're back with Season 6, Episode 3, Oathbreaker review. I enjoyed it. It was a good episode. Take us away.
Okay. Well, let's start with how many candles. Thinking of small council. How many?
Say hi. Do stuff.
Maesters link. Well, let's get the Maesters
right
links.
into it.
Yeah. Everybody knows me. Hi, it's Claire.
Anyways, it's Claire. Yes.
How many links for this episode?
I'm so close to giving this episode a 5, which might be shocking.
Okay.
But I can't for one specific reason. Anyways, I'm giving it a 4 because we don't have half links. I would give it a 4.5. It would be a 5 if the surface story was better. It would be a perfect episode.
All right.
If it moved really good and we enjoyed it. But we don't. Watching it as just what's on screen, it's not that good of an episode. But when you look into it, fuck me. It is good. Go.
4 links, yeah?
4 because I can't give it a 4.5.
Okay. Right, let me explain. When I first watched this episode, I got about 3/4 of the way through and almost gave up on it. It left me in a stonking bad mood, and actually we kind of fell out a little bit. Because I was watching it with him and he was like, oh, that's great. Oh, yeah, that's great. That's interesting. And I'm like, that's really annoying me, first of all. Secondly, the details that the show producers seem to be just shitting all over it from a book reader's perspective really pissed me off, and I was getting angrier and angrier and angrier as the episode progressed. And actually, when we do these reviews, so if you would have asked me yesterday or Sunday night, I would have said 0 to 1 Maester's links.
Yeah.
And I think I've referred to it elsewhere as like this for me is the small pecker of all episodes.
Yes,
and
you said that in the comments on Mythosoficeandfire's channel. Yes.
I've had enough of this shit. I can't deal with this show anymore, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Now, when we do these reviews, what I do is I watch the show first, just purely for entertainment. I don't take any notes. I just watch the show. I then rewatch at least once, usually only just the once, actually, unless I may catch up on a little bit of it again before Small Council on Wednesday evening. But when I sat down to rewatch tonight, I wasn't looking forward to it because I knew how I felt about watching it on Sunday night and how pissed off I felt at the end of the episode. I felt that it was boring. I felt that the details were all over the place in terms of things like I said to you at the end of the episode. Oh, right, okay, well, would you like a new coat? Yeah, here's a new coat. By the way, that suddenly makes you Lord Commander. Forget the fact that there's ever any like elections and things. I can't actually now saying that. I can't believe that that's how I was thinking because I rewatched the episode this evening. And I was kind of enjoying it a little bit more than I did on the first watch, slightly more. And then we got to what I initially, when I first watched it, thought was one of the really, here's a boring scene with Varys in Marine talking to, what's she called, Vala, which is interesting in itself.
Awesome enough in itself, yeah.
I got to that scene and there was a piece of dialogue in that made me view the rest of the episode very differently. And actually, when I go back and reflect on all of the scenes up until that point, it made me think very differently. I would actually give this episode now, having rewatched, and we'll explain why and what we saw and what we thought. Sorry if you can hear the cats running up.
Yeah, they're going crazy.
It's like the Grand National up there. I would now give this episode 4 candles, almost like you.
Candles.
Links. I keep thinking about glass candles.
Yeah, no, I understand.
4 links, bordering on 5, but I think there may be more to come in terms of the thinking that we're on at the moment. So again, we'll explain more as we go through the scenes.
With candles, and you should, well, no, maybe save it for Small Council, but you can't have half points
Yes,
Can't
yeah,
just-
yeah, yeah.
I
You
believe-
can't with the Maester's links though, otherwise I would really give
Her
it.
rule.
Let's
not
leave
mine.
that. Let's not go on
Not
with the
mine.
halflings. We will get to what we're talking about, and we both kind of agree with each other really, and it was quite revealing when we went back and watched some of the scenes that we'll go through. But Oathbreaker, the theme of the episode. So you know, we've talked about is this where on in terms of the story as it's progressing in this particular episode, is this an Iron Underneath had mentioned in the comments for our previous video on R plus L equals J. You know, is Oathbreaker? Does it mean Dan and Dave? It's breaking their oath in terms of being faithful to reproducing this masterpiece. You know, this is where it kind of diverges and separates.
And I can see that. Yeah, I can see why she would think that.
And to an extent, I still believe that that's the case. I think that
they explain it.
We can. But there are still lots of different ways in terms of just the pure story progression, not the interpretation of all of things like the theories and things like that, but just the basic story progression. There are differences.
Sure.
There are differences to
absolutely.
Where we're at in the books into to where we're at in the show.
Yes.
But almost that's a kind of
horrible,
like that's a like we said,
horrible
differences.
Differences.
Yeah.
It's bad. Yeah. In that aspect, sure. The
Around
the
theme relating to the title Oathbreaker. So you know, again, there are other things like Sam is breaking his oath to Gilly in terms of going to Old Town. Not
staying with her.
And he made a promise to her that he would keep her and the baby safe. So he's kind of breaking his oath in a way by you know, taking her to Hornhill instead.
That should be interesting to see what happens with perhaps Sam.
Daenerys broke her oath to the Dothraki because what she did was forbidden.
Earlier.
She left.
Yes.
You know, she didn't sort of present herself to the Doshkaleen immediately after Khal Drogo's death. So we were kind of reminded of the fact that she broke an oath quite a long time ago. At the end, obviously, John leaving well, I don't know if he's left. I don't know if he's left the Night's Watch or not. I don't know where he marched off to, or which direction. But I know he could have just been going back to his room. Initially, I thought, is he going off beyond the, you know, to beyond the wall to, like, you know, tackle his next adventure? But I don't know. Regardless, he released himself from his Night's Watch oath, so effectively breaking his oath.
Well, that's arguable just for the simple fact that he's already died. That's when his watch ends. That's why nobody's giving a shit when he's that makes sense.
There is another interpretation that we have for the name of the episode, Oathbreaker, but it links to our thinking post Varys scene.
I've already forgotten
that we talked about,
but I should remember it by the time.
I will bring us back to that later. It's worth mentioning, by the way, before we get into the episode and the scenes and the dialogue, particularly the dialogue in this episode is what made me completely change my mind from this being the worst episode ever to an absolutely amazing, mind-blowing episode for me and for us anyway.
Good.
Yeah,
so good.
Particularly if you think about some of the things that we talked about in our previous video relating to questions about R plus L equals J. So we're thinking about not just the Tower of Joy scene relating to Jon's parentage and lineage. We're asking you to think a little bit later on when we get into it, but we're asking you to think about the entire episode being a metaphor for theories around Jon's parentage, Jon's lineage. So we'll talk about that when we go through the dialogue.
Episode.
Yeah.
So just because you didn't get the ending of the Tower of Joy or what you were hoping to get from the Tower of Joy, you actually did.
Yeah.
Or at least there was a communication between the show and us about the Tower of Joy, which we'll get into. It might be hard for some people to understand exactly where we're going with this. Yeah. But it's definitely
it relates to what we were talking about with looking for different things, thinking digging deeper and looking for clues.
Yeah.
And we think that this is a great episode for giving us some messages, which we'll get to as we go through the scenes.
Yeah, if you're just concentrated on the story that they gave you, this show kind of fucking shits the bed a little bit.
Yeah.
But if you want to dig a little bit deeper and just try to get something out of it, if you will, you can do that. It's fucking there. This show is not, this episode was not bad. It's pretty fucking awesome. That's
before we get
that's
into it, we want to just mention that we've got, if we can hopefully, fingers crossed, if the technology works, we've got Calum joining us at the end of our review. Calum is Calum's a new UK A Song of Ice and Fire YouTuber, so check his channel out. We will put the details in the description box, and he's got some theories, and he likes to be interactive and talk about his thoughts and theories on his channel in the comments and things. So go and take a look at Calum's videos.
Absolutely, and we will post links and everything in the description, and of course you will see him here later on.
Yes, we're looking forward to that a little bit later on. So let's get to the wall.
Go.
Okay. So again, my notes up until Varys are very kind of just the episode
right.
as it's presented to show viewers. Yeah.
That's funny, and when we get to Varys, that'll be interesting, because my notes kind of stop at Varys, and that's because I kind of paused it and was waiting for Claire to get home.
And then I made all the notes.
And then she says one thing brilliantly, which we'll get to later on. And then, although I did have some earlier tie-ins to it as well, but it just fucking opens up the floodgates. So
I was dreading doing this review, you know, up until I rewatched it.
I wasn't. I was excited because I saw so much.
Twice.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's worth watching it at least twice. Just completely different viewpoint from the first to the second viewing. So
hold on.
Yeah.
I was excited about this episode because I saw so much earlier when you were just raging and raging.
And I was raging.
Oh, that we did. She fucking stormed off because I was like, oh, it's not that bad.
I was messaging Tony Teflon. This episode was shit.
I was messaging Tony Teflon saying, fucking Claire just took off. She's pissed off at me.
Sorry, Tony, if you're watching.
Yeah.
But
anyways,
no,
interrupting my story again.
Yeah.
We did get into I can't even remember where the fuck I was going now, but anyways, continue. So the wall, but by the way, my notes might be quite sporadic because I do have different variations of everything, so I apologize if I'm shuffling through and pausing, and I have a whole lot that I want to get out in this episode.
Yeah, don't worry.
And if we don't,
I'll take us through it.
She will, and she'll be very good at it. But if we don't, I will bring it up, and when I stop taking notes, that's where I was going.
Okay.
The stuff that I missed, I'll bring up in small council, because by the time we got to Varys about, I have a few notes.
Right, start rambling. Let's start.
Then I started pacing back and forth and not writing notes, just kind of dictating, like, oh, well, we would look at each other and be like, yep, that's it. Yep,
Yeah.
that's it.
Okay.
Yep, that's it. So, yeah.
You ready?
Go. Yes, go.
So we're at the wall.
Sorry.
It's post John's resi, and everyone's shocked. No one seems to be, including Davos and Mel. Oh my God, can't believe it. And it's like, were you not in the room when all that shit was going on?
No, but well, go ahead.
Finish. Again, just, you know, these are my notes from first watch. It seems that there's some, when Mel comes into the room, to me, it's, and she's asking, you know, what did you see? And he says, nothing. You know, no, nothing. And Davos is like, whoa, can you just back off? Just give us a minute. And it's kind of because she starts talking about religion, basically, almost immediately. And it's like, is she trying to influence John? Davos seems to be pushing her away and want to protect John against like Mel's influence around this whole prince that was promised thing. That's what I saw first.
Davos doesn't even know that, though, from last episode. Well, maybe Davos
no,
has
he's thinking about how he can't he can't stand Mel because of her influence over Stannis originally around the Red God. And she came in and was like, oh, you've come back, you know, and she started talking about it wasn't Stannis, so, you know, and Prince that was promised. And Davos kind of, you know, just, can you give us a minute?
Okay.
And he's pushing her away.
There's actually a lot of let's talk to ourselves bits in this episode. All throughout, like, let's just clear the room and we'll just have a little bit of a discussion here amongst ourselves.
When I first saw that scene, I thought, oh God, here we go. We get John's arse, and it's like, you know, this gratuitous kind of religious iconography around rebirth, and it was
not
like,
what I was paying attention to whatsoever.
Well, yeah, but I was just kind of, when I first watched it, I was kind of pissed off right from the word go, to be honest, and you know, it was, like I say, I almost abandoned it 3/4 of the way through, which was probably the bit that I really enjoyed on the second watch. But anyway, is there anything that you want to say about those initial scenes at the wall with Jon, Davos and Mel? Because we're going to bring Calum in to the end.
Well, we do have
the end scene at the wall.
The yard right afterwards still. Not the hanging scene, but at the wall, yes. Jon does go out into the yard.
He walks into the yard, and I think the thing that I got from that was when for show watchers, it was Ed who said, who confirmed for show watchers, oh phew, it's still Jon Snow, we don't have to worry. You know, he's got brown eyes and he still has his, you know, it's still Jon. And there's been reports everywhere, you know, I think even the actor himself, Kit Harington, has said, oh, he comes back differently. And I was like, really? Yeah. It seems like pretty much the same Jon Snow to me. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. But he seemed very like his previous emo self.
Funny thing. Fossum. I said Fossum.
Awesome.
I apologize.
And fantastic.
I'm very excited.
Awesome and fantastic. Foursome.
Yeah. Well, no, it was something else, but it wasn't fantastic. It was something else. But sure, we'll go with that. The best thing about the Ed and Jon scene was the joke that makes Ed laugh, which is, what was it again? You'll have to wait a bit to burn my body, or something like this. But it's just this morose joke that Ed laughs at, and Ed doesn't laugh. He's very somber, and his humor is fucking somber. Yeah. So the fact that, and then he says to Jon, "That's funny. Are you sure that's you?" That was actually kind of really sweet. That's comedy gold. That's where the show should fucking, no fucking Dothraki fucking bro humor. That's ridiculous. This is where they do it. I do have other stuff.
Yeah.
So the question that was asked, what did you see? Where were you? Like, what happened when you were dead to Jon before he comes back and he says nothing. Again, that's comedy gold. Jon Snow actually literally knows nothing. He's been to nothing before. He knows what it is. It's beautiful. It's perfect.
So we're going to come back to the wall when Calum joins us later on. But is there anything else we want to say about that initial scene?
The first time you said it. Yeah. I'm still going. I'm looking at my notes. Right. Yeah. Jon to Tormund. Jon walks up to Tormund, and Tormund says to him, on the scene about, I tweeted probably about 6 months ago during The Walking Dead, a tweet that was when they were drawing the zombie army behind them, and everybody's following, and they're just getting them away from the camp or wherever the trucks were and that big zombie horde. And I said, the moment The Walking Dead explains R + L = J, which was them drawing this fucking zombie horde and everybody's following it. Sorry, I'm getting crude here. I'm getting cocky. I'm getting vain. This was my episode. This is my original shirt. This was my episode. So you get Jon coming out, and the fucking cast of Castle Black just kind of like walking towards him like fucking zombies. Then he comes down and he talks to Tormund, and he's like, they think you're some kind of god. And you're the man who came back from the dead, blah, blah, blah. And Jon says to him, I am not a god. Perfect. Perfect.
Do they? I can't even remember
Yeah,
that.
he
Right.
says, you got it right here
Okay, I believe you.
somewhere, but I do.
Okay,
It's definitely right here, and he says, I'm not a god.
shall we discuss the next bit?
Sure.
We can always come back later, don't worry. Yeah.
I'm not a
Okay,
god,
yeah,
right
yeah,
there.
okay.
Yeah.
Right, so we're going to move, I say, we're going to come back to the wall
And I think
when
there's
Calum's
more I
here.
have from that too.
Let's move on to Sam and Gilly. I've got absolutely nothing at all for that scene, apart from it looks like they're going to Horn Hill next, and
Where's that? Oh, I fell on the floor, didn't it?
it looks like they're going to Horn Hill next.
Yep.
And yeah, sorry, the cat's crying to get out. We let her out.
Yeah.
And meeting Sam's father. So it looks like probably that's going to happen next episode. So that'll be interesting. It was Mother's Day, so there was quite a few references to mothers, and Sam mentioned his mother quite fondly, and High Sparrow mentions the mother later on, but we'll get there.
Definitely
Anything that you want
repeating
to?
themes, a lot revolving around mothers and stuff for Mother's Day and stuff. Did you get into Oathbreaker and like the things? I know you had more. I didn't really think.
No,
on
I
it.
want to ask you about what you thought of the Sam and Gilly scene.
Okay. Just basically Gilly's story about sea versus sea. How she used to think that the sea was called the sea because it was as far as you could see it for as far as the eye could see. And then she says, but obviously sea, they sounded like blah, blah, blah. I didn't know. Or what'd she say about how to read?
That's all you could see. That's all you could see
yeah.
because it's as
Gilly's
far
story
as,
about how she used to think about the sea. It was called the sea because it went on as far as the eye could see. That was before I learned to read. Obviously, again, comedy gold. This is the show at its best. But what she's really saying there is, I thought it was one thing. I do have it in my notes. That's what I'm reading. Because it sounded right. But actually, it was something completely different. I didn't have to look at that. So anyways, I thought it was one thing because it sounded right. But actually, it was something completely different, which she realized after she learned how to read. By the way, I think Mythos of Ice and Fire might be a fucking amazing wizard. She said a comment today, and I was talking to her in her comments earlier, and she's like, "Oh, you guys got so much right about your last fucking thing," and I was like, "No, I don't think we actually got all that much right."
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Now with this episode, yeah, I think we fucking actually did.
Right. Your notes are you just move them on Sam and Gilly, put them here.
So that's it. I'm kind of done.
The Citadel.
Oh yeah, so the Citadel. They're talking about, what are they talking about? Going down to the Citadel.
Sam's going to Old Town.
And
they don't admit women.
They don't admit women, which is in my notes here, and it says foreshadowing Alaris and throw to Clare. Just saying, because I knew that she had something about this. And then I do have a counter.
I think we're getting excited because we're getting to the Tower of Joy scene. So let's move on to that one. Let's move on to the Tower of Joy.
No. You had a point about maybe perhaps Gilly being fucking taking over Alaris's role. Or Solera's role.
Actually, we had. You're right.
We did. That's why I was throwing to you.
Okay, we had a conversation probably straight after the episode where I said,
"No, it was next day, I think."
Yeah, I wonder if if Gilly does. I don't know though if they're going to Horn Hill. She may stay there. But when she said we broke the rules at Castle Black, doesn't admit women. So maybe if she does go to the Citadel with him and she ends up in Old Town, maybe she kind of merges with the Solera / Alaris, the Sphinx character from the books. I don't know. Who knows?
And what my notes were after that was continuing that conversation. She says she's already been at Castle Black and no women are allowed there. This is also a repeating theme through the books and possibly the TV show, although we don't really get it as much in the TV show. But we do get it in the subtext, which is what's the lady Halcyon talks about all the time in the story, who was at the wall, who dressed Danny Flint, who posed as a woman to join the Night's Watch.
Posed as a man to join the Night's Watch.
That would be exactly right. So there's that. There's the Night of the Laughing Tree, which arguably was Lyanna posing as a man to fight in the tournament.
So it could be that Gilly's going to do that.
Already done one. So will she do the other? She is heading in that direction. What if what's Sam's dad's name? Tarly, whatever. Sam's dad.
Oh God.
If he says no, if Sam's dad's there and kicks them all out, well then what's Gilly supposed to do?
I can't believe I can't remember Tarly's name. That's really like.
I swear it's an H, but I might be confused with Hoster, but I think it's no, it's not.
It's going to come to me.
Sorry.
Oh, you fucker! Why did you throw that in? I can't.
Because it's a fucking point.
Just Sam's dad, and it'll come to me.
I've already covered that.
Right.
It's
okay.
already been
That's
Sam's
completely distracted me, you twat.
Just because you don't know where I'm fucking gonna go doesn't mean.
Can we discuss the Tower of Joy scene?
Go. Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait, so.
Go ahead. Stop. No. Yep. Continue.
So we've got Bloodraven making a point to Bran of pointing out that Howland Reed is there when they first arrive. Are you listening to me?
No, but go ahead. You're talking to them, not me. I've heard all of it before. DOJ, found it. Go ahead.
Bloodraven and Bran arrive at the scene in the vision. So this is the second of Bran's visions.
That happened.
And he, you're really putting me off.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Okay, pull yourself together.
I'm excited.
Right, okay.
I'm excited.
Bloodraven makes a point to Bran of pointing out that Howland Reed was look, there's Howland Reed, which makes me think what's when Bran gets out of his vision at the other end, is he gonna say to Mira? Because he did say, oh my God, he stabbed him in the back. Bran actually said that. He stabbed him in the back. Is he going to go back and say to Mira, shit, guess what I saw? Maybe our dads aren't that honourable after all. This is what happened. It's not quite how it was told to me.
Well, Ned,
so I don't know.
Arguably, Ned acted honourably through the whole thing. Ned fought fairly, fought everything. Howland Reed was already dead. Ned just Ned gave him fucking mercy, chopped his head off.
Okay, so I felt that in the scene, and I watched it quite carefully just before the fight scene, that Arthur Dayne was actually quite respectful, because there was a bit where one of the other Kingsguard says, woe to the usurper, and Arthur Dayne kind of shoots him a look as if he's like, just hang on,
really?
mate. Yeah.
Did not see that. Excellent.
Arthur Dayne was actually, if you look back through that scene, was actually quite respectful, and there was a bit of, I felt as though there was a bit of sadness there before the fight started. And actually the thing that there's a couple of things that I want to point out here. When it comes to Ned's honour, Bran says to Bloodraven, when they're fighting, Bran says to Bloodraven, he's better than my father. And Bloodraven says, in quite a dramatic fashion, far better. And then it's mixed up with the fight scene and honor and things like that, and it was like, was he talking about, he's a better fighter? It seemed like there was something else going on there, like, yes, Arthur Dayne is honorable. Look at what you're seeing here, this fight scene. Arthur Dayne was actually honorable. He was, and Ned attacked 6 against 3 or 7 against 3. He's better than my father, and Bloodraven says far better in a very kind of pointed way, which made me think about Ned's honour when you go back.
It's also interesting too, because when you see the fight, Ned was essentially at that point doing pretty fucking good against Arthur Dayne. Nobody was. It was back and forth. There was attack, and Arthur Dayne did have 2 swords. I don't know if that matters or not. I don't know if Ned had a shield or not.
No, I don't know. He just
think
had
they
it.
did.
No, he didn't. He just had his sword. There's another couple of things that I want to mention. That again, a nod to book readers is in the books. Bloodraven is there's a well-known in the Duncan Egg stories. There's a well-known phrase: "How many eyes does Bloodraven have?" And the answer is 1,000 eyes and one.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple of times in this scene with Bran and Bloodraven where Bran says, he's looking at the scene and he's saying, "I've heard this story 1,000 times." He actually says,
I saw that. Yeah,
1,000 times.
Yeah, I saw
And
that.
then also back in the cave, Bloodraven says, basically, you're not going to be sitting here like I am for 1,000 years. Because at first I thought, he actually said 1,000 years.
I tuned into the old
and
man
I'm doing
part,
the theorist kind of like, it wouldn't be 1,000 years. It'd probably be more like 300, 400. And then and it was like, actually,
I was doing that too.
He said
like,
1,000.
Really? I thought he was about,
he said 1,000
years old.
for a reason. So I just thought it was
and
interesting.
at the end of that scene, there is the shadow across Bloodraven's eye. I might have had a little too much to drink. Across Bloodraven's eye.
No shit.
So
okay.
not that much. We had difficulties. I started in preparation. I was supposed to be in the zone. I'm a little bit in the zone.
Right. Okay. The other thing, just on a very kind of observational point of view, when we get the Ned running up the stairs and a woman. Whether it's Leanna or not, a woman. I think he's going in there for his sister.
Yes.
Says, "Where's my sister?" And he's running up the stairs, and I'm like, "Where's Howland? Is Howland already gone in?" And then it pans back when Ned's like, "Oh, can I hear something?" Is that what, or whatever it is? He stops and pauses, and Bran's convinced when they go back to the cave, he heard me.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look in the background, Howland Reed is there with it's like he's, I don't know, it's like, what is he doing? What's he doing? And it looks like he's either tending to one of the other men, or he's getting something off the body or something.
Nice.
No,
just
you can see him just kind of, so because you expect him, is he on the stairs, is he there with Ned? But he's not. He's in the background. He's not, by the way, when you'd have to look at it, it's when Ned kind of pans round and Bran and Bloodraven are there, and Bran's kind of looking at him as if like, "Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?"
I know
at that point, Howland Reed's in the background
doing weird little fucking
doing something.
Howland Reed shit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly, doing weird Howland Reed shit.
I think it's not like he could be putting back Arthur Dane. I don't think that's happening.
The question, I'm guessing that everybody's saying, "Oh no, we're not going to," because when we watched it the first time together, you were saying, "No, we're going to go back. We're going to go back to that. We'll go back to the inside of the Tower of Joy before the end of the episode." And
I did. Yeah. I thought.
I don't know. I don't know if we will. Back. So
I thought Bran was gonna just go on his own and fucking.
My question is, will we go back, and will it be? Because I think we will, and I think if we do,
I think we're giving
I think it will be Bran going back on his own without Bloodraven, and that will be his way. That will be his way of demonstrating to show watchers that he's outgrown his green seer powers, and he's kind of surpassing Bloodraven. He can go back there.
You get that in this episode too, when Bryn Rivers, Bloodraven, sees Bran fucking, what's his father? Or is that what he says? Father? When he calls to Ned, anyways, and Ned stops, it pans to Bloodraven, and he cringes. He's like, meaning that, shit, Bran's really found out that shit, you can communicate with them, or Bran's done something that he can't do. I think Bloodraven knows you can communicate with them. He's been trying to. We get it sort of through the book, so I think he knows how to. And but I just think that was happening. I gotta let speed up. No.
Let's move to Daenerys. I think we can cover quite briefly. So let's discuss. All I've got here is that the Dosh Colleen, it seems as though they're quite powerful. I thought initially when I looked at that scene that they were clearly holding the power, but the decisions are made by the entire Khalasar that are gathering together in Vase Dothrak.
Probably very poignant for what we get into later on, by the way.
So it's the Khalasars who will decide, and they, you know, what will happen. At the moment, in terms of power balance for Dany, things ain't looking so good. So she needs Drogon, and we know from the trailers that he's going to show up. And I think as soon as he does, and when he does, the whole of the Khalasar are going to bow to the strength. They follow strength, and whether, you know, it could be that, I don't know whether they just see a dragon and go, holy fuck, right, what do you want, where do you want us to go, anything, and we're following you. Or,
I don't think that's
or
the case.
whether
I think they must
Drogon
have
like
known
burns
that
them and destroys the Dothraki. I mean, I think I would prefer the first option.
There is an argument for a field of fire happening in Vase Dothrak. There absolutely is, and I think it would go beyond just Drogon itself, just Vase Dothrak itself. I have something spinning in my head that I'm trying to go. The TV show version of it doesn't play with me. I got to go into the books to look at it, but there's definitely field of fire that could happen at Vase Dothrak.
Do you think this season that Dany will go to Meereen or Westeros? Like first, where's a next stop?
Don't know, don't care.
Okay.
Let me get to the show.
Danny
is a reverse parallel of what just happened with Bran, whereas Bloodraven saying, "Don't worry, you're not going to be here your entire life. You'll go." These women are saying to her, "You're going to be here your entire life. If you're lucky, you're going to be here.
If you're lucky,
you
might get to stay.
Wink, wink. You might get to stay here." I'm assuming death is the other alternative. So that's kind of interesting. Just one scene into the next scene, and that was the case. I thought that was pretty neat.
Okay.
That's it. Yep. Go.
So we go to Meereen, and we get what initially I thought were two fairly boring scenes in Meereen. Oh, yawn. Let's skip on. Let's move on. But watching it this time on the rewatch, and I thought, okay, here's Varys. You know, he's
this is where my notes fall apart.
Yeah, he's been a bit of a detective, and he's kind of, you know, interrogating this woman. Then I started listening to the dialogue. I almost said lyrics. Listening to the
similar almost
A Song of Ice and Fire.
Oh, perfect. Nice.
I started listening to the dialogue
that was good. I like that.
A bit differently, let's say, when Varys said that he was looking at this from a different perspective. You've got a different perspective.
I do.
I've got a different perspective.
You do.
And
there's a third
The
option.
only way for us to be happy is to respect that each of us have got a different perspective. However, there is a third option.
There is.
And I was listening to him talking about it to this dialogue.
This is why I said I should
conversation.
throw to you for this point. And the thing is, what Claire brings up here is fucking just gorgeous.
Well,
the way she explained it to me earlier, she'd come home and we were actually talking with Calum, and I didn't pay attention the first time, and we spoke afterwards, and she just blew my mind, and I was like, oh my god. So please do that again. I'm just gonna sit back.
I'm just saying. I think if you look at the rest of the episode and then go back actually to other scenes, the dialogue from here on in every single scene can be interpreted as a complete metaphor for Jon's lineage and Jon's parentage and theories around that, including R+L = J, and other options and alternatives, which is exactly what we were talking about in our last video. So think about, just with that in mind, think about the dialogue being a metaphor for Jon's parentage as we go on through the scenes.
especially with what she's about to say here.
I don't know. Stop blinding me up like that, because I don't know what you think I'm going to say. I think I've already said it.
No, you haven't. You haven't gotten there yet.
When he's talking to a mother, and he's talking about a mother and a son, Vala and her son Dom.
Vala and Dom, by the way, just saying.
Yeah, so we talked about Val and Dalla, but
combo name.
When he said, looking at, you got your perspective, I can see that. I can see why you say that from your perspective. I've got a different perspective. I like to keep people happy, and I thought this is quite a fascinating conversation. And then I slightly changed the way I was listening to the rest of the dialogue, and when he said there's a third option, there's a ship leaving for, you booked on it, there's a ship leaving for Pentos, and throwing in a bag of silver and a new life for you and Dom. And I thought, well, that could also, as well as what he just said previously about different perspectives, he's throwing in the first kind of theory there of, Daenerys traveling to Pentos, and so it was like, oh, that's that kind of, in a bag of silver head. I don't, not necessarily, I'm not saying in chronological order, but I just thought it made me start.
I think he's giving good evidence.
Okay, so he made me start thinking about, okay, well, that's a theory about Jon's lineage. Remember that this is the Tower of Joy episode. Everybody expected to find out about Jon's parentage, or at least for it to be explored. Are we going to find out? Are we not going to find out? I think what we've got here is an homage to all of the theories that are out there, including R plus L equals J, and it comes out in the dialogue, is what I'm trying to say.
It absolutely does. It absolutely comes out in the dialogue. The way she explained it to me earlier was fucking a lot. Just more straight and to the point. And, what do you think about that? And it was fucking beautiful.
I think if we move on to again within Marine, so you get Tyrion. So we move on to Tyrion.
Well, I got
I thought,
Varys shit too.
Yeah.
Myself.
Okay. Go on.
Not as good as that. And I hope you guys understood what she just said right there. I really hope you do, because it's so good. Two different notions. We have what you thought about with this episode. I had some very minor things. Varys saying to her when she gets into the room, I just thought it was another bit of fucking cool wit. How you climbed all those steps without breaking a sweat. Or how you climbed all those steps. He says it Varys like, and it has way more impact than the way I just said it. But it was a beautiful line. She was getting power. She was gaining power. She was climbing the ladder without breaking sweat. She just had to do a few different things. The conversation, I think you have it written down a lot more than I do, maybe. But
you could say, again, in terms of the metaphor, look at you climbing this, reaching this conclusion so easily without even breaking a sweat. That was quite easy, wasn't it?
She's on fire.
On fire. Let me just.
That was good.
Have you got anything else to say about Varys before we discuss what Tyrion said?
So the third option within this scene is they're giving us one thing, they're giving us the other thing, and the third option is we get to see that Varys is the Harpy.
Yeah,
we're going into theory mode and crackpot and tinfoil and all that shit.
This is complete crackpot.
Absolutely.
Review, by the way.
Everything we're saying, of course, is crackpot. But if you have to watch the episode again, please watch the episode again with our fucking words in your ear. Please do it.
And maybe while you're in your cups, that usually helps.
Or other things.
I drink and I know things.
I drink and I know things. Or other things.
Okay, Tyrion.
Varys could be the Harpy. So what happens? What happens is he clears the room. He talks to this girl, Vala, Dalla, and the kid's name is Dom, which is kind of like a hybrid of Danny and John too. It's fucking just gorgeous. And he sends them off to Pentos, which is even better. I didn't even catch the fucking place. I didn't care. But he clears the room. he says that torture leads to generally wrong answers. He's in search of the right answers. He doesn't say the truth. He says the right answers. He wants specific answers from her. He doesn't give a shit if it's false or not. He wants the answer that he's looking for. We do have in the last episode when Tyrion and Varys are walking around and you get the harpy kind of standing in the background looking for him. I don't know if I mentioned this in our last review or not, but just watching him. And why would they be walking around and nobody's trying to kill them, right?
Yeah.
There's an argument for Varys the harpy. A harpy is a bird-like creature with a woman's face, even better, all signs. But let's just go with it.
Right. Okay.
And he has reason to want to create chaos. He doesn't have Dany yet. He can't have people moving out. Sorry, I don't know if they
it's
can
one
hear
of the
that.
cats is making an absolute racket up there. Do you mind if I try to speed things up a little bit? Is that okay? Because I'm aware that we want Calum to join.
We can talk about a lot of this.
Right,
Calum,
I'm going to go through
it.
Tyrion. Okay, I know you've got some notes on Tyrion, but let's try to get through this.
Well, this is the big
again
one.
in the spirit of the rest of the scenes are R plus L equals J metaphor, or John's parentage theory metaphor. Throw out to book readers. Again, consider this. Tyrion's scene initially I thought was boring as shit, but actually just the very first thing he says with this new way of listening, is what should we do while we wait to pass the time? And I thought, what should we do while we wait to pass the time for the Winds of Winter to
and
come
I
out?
said for the long wait.
Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah.
What would you be talking about if you know
R plus L
you did
equals J.
exactly?
Let's talk about it. Let's discuss
He
it.
talks about having conversations.
It has to be a conversation.
And when they struggle to understand what he means, he says, "Okay, let's play a game. Let's play a game where I ask you, I make a statement about your past. I make a statement about your past.
If I'm wrong,
you tell me if I'm right or wrong."
And this is maybe we need to drink to play this game. Maybe you do. Works for me.
That I thought was very. I just thought that, again, that plays into the theme being really around this is the John's parentage episode. Not going to get the answers, but think about all the possible alternatives. Have those conversations. What are we going to do to pass the time? Well, you think about theories and you think about, is that right or wrong? And the past being John's past and John's parentage. So
what Tyrion does here then afterwards is he describes the Song of Ice and Fire community. And he's like, the true history of the world is a history of great conversations. A history of great conversations. That's what's happening now. We're getting a history of all of us, forums, comments, YouTube videos of just conversations regarding this book in elegant rooms, chat rooms, blah, 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 blah. The true history of the world is a history of great conversations. That's the history of the world George has created. And it goes so much beyond the books themselves. It is huge. It is massive. Again,
going back to the dialogue, in the dialogue in the episode, and Varys comes in and they talk about the Maesters and what's going on, like outside, the slave masters and the Yunkai, and Tyrion says to Varys, the Masters only speak one language, and they question, okay, so they only speak one language. There's only one theory. There's only one theory. They only speak one language. So the question is, well, do we fight? Do we fight? Do we fight? And Tyrion kind of says, well, possibly, but it's a conversation. It's a conversation.
There is. Let's talk about it.
I really liked that way of interpreting it. So
this is by the way, this part we were just pinging off each other. We just looked at each other. Yep. No, it was great.
Right. Listen. We're going to speed through King's Landing and Arya because I want to come back.
Yeah, I stopped taking notes at this point.
I want. So do you mind if I just kind of take over then,
you
so that we can speed through a little bit?
To put my faith in you, and you would point to
Okay,
me
feel
if I
free.
had anything.
I'm taking the wheel. Feel free to jump in, but I want to get us through to.
The fuck was that?
I don't know, something in the kitchen. It's okay. But we need to bring Calum in before it's too late. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just make sure you hit on the
Right.
things I told you to hit on, whatever they were.
Okay, I'm just going to go through my notes very quickly. So, King's Landing, I had really nothing for Jaime and Cersei, but I thought it was interesting with Qyburn. Again, with this way of interpreting things in mind, when he says, "Remember, if any of your friends like sweets or need help, they can always come to me. Don't be afraid." And
hold on, just one thing. Speaking of which, we actually probably wouldn't be doing this with Calum today. He said sweets, so if it wasn't for Sweet YFT, who helped us out in a crisis earlier when we couldn't figure out how to do the live thing.
Hangouts, yeah.
I know we're rushing. And by the way, I apologize to everybody about that. I don't know how long it was, a minute 58-second clip or something of live stream that.
It's just testing.
And that's not even what we're doing now. So thank you again to Sweet for helping us out. Go ahead.
So think about it this way: if any of your friends need sweets or need help, they can always come to me. If anyone out there wants to find out about what John's theory, the established theory is for who John's mum and dad are, come to me.
So you were getting stuff there that I wasn't.
I can. I'm always here to help. Come to me. I'm the established. So I started seeing King's Landing in this episode. Qyburn particularly as this is the R plus L equals J theory. This is the established theory. If anyone wants to come and find out about John's parents, come to me. I'll give you some sweets. I'll give you some help. I'll give you some sweets. I didn't really get a great deal from Jaime and Cersei, but I did think when they went back into the small council, it's quite clear that
there's a divide. First of all,
yeah, well, it's quite clear that Cersei wants revenge for Myrcella, and that's how things are going to go. And I think that ultimately, it's like we've got fucking poltergeist or something. What's going on with the animals tonight?
He's fine.
The dog's fine. It's just the cats are going psycho upstairs, unless someone's trying to break in or something.
Tyrion's talking on the TV right now. Sorry.
I think that Cersei's going to go on a mission of revenge for Myrcella, and I think Tommen's going to get caught up in that. I think he's going to die this season, and it will be it will be it will be as a result of some way, shape, or form fault of Cersei's. So I think we'll see the demise of Tommen this season at Cersei's hands, whether deliberately or not, consciously or subconsciously. I think that will happen. I thought it was interesting, the conversation that the High Sparrow had with Tommen about mother's love, and mother's love being a great gift, because we obviously get the gift with Rickon later on in the episode. I thought it was very interesting, again, with this theme that we talked about in this particular scene, where the High Sparrow says, well, God's will, you either accept it or reject it. I'm hoping that I don't need to explain that to you. No one is wiser than the gods. And there's so much good in everybody. We need to help each other bring it out. And it's almost like Dan and Dave are saying,
it's so good.
This is the theory. You can accept it or reject it. And really, this speaks to me when I'm thinking about nothing's established. We don't know the answers yet. There are options and alternatives. And I now feel that this is what this entire episode was saying to us. And we can help each other bring this out. If we move on to Arya, again in the Arya scene, which I originally thought was really shitty, like Karate Kid montage, but when the wave says, tell me about Arya Stark's family, and she says, I have 4 brothers, and she smacks her
And this is where you were like, "Oh,
Yeah.
this is great. This is great." And I was like,
And
"Just
then-
wait, just wait, just
and
wait."
then she said, no, 3 brothers and a half brother. And then she doesn't get smacked at that point. And it's
Well,
like,
she says
oh,
a bunch of
it's-
stuff
yeah,
before that.
Yeah. Yeah. But when it gets to the
half
that
brother.
particular piece of dialogue, again, I thought related to what
So
we were just talking about.
when it gets to Arya saying, "I have 3 brothers and a half brother," she doesn't hit her. She swings. She doesn't hit her. Because Arya is telling the truth.
Mhm.
Listen to me now. The only way Jon can be Arya's half brother is if Ned's her father. If Lyanna's her mother,
His, you mean?
if Lyanna's his mother, that's not a half brother. That's not a truthful statement. The argument here is they're playing the lying game still, so you still have a chance. It's still there. This is a conversation. But she did not get hit when she said 3 brothers and a half brother.
And I did quite.
And the only way that's possible is if Ned's the father.
I like the what was going on up there, by the way. I'm curious.
Asha came out of that room. And,
she just fucking
I don't-
about up there.
Yeah, just
being devious.
playing with shit. I don't fucking know.
Okay. There is a quote as well from the Wave where she said, "Oh, we were talking about Arya, who is Arya Stark," and the Wave says she sounds confused, and again that made me laugh because it was like, yep, we're all confused about who's Jon's parents are. That's the whole point. And then obviously Arya drinks from the pool. She's not blind anymore, and she suddenly becomes no one. So we do seem to have speeded through.
Another argument for you
Arya's,
guys is when she
were there with the
made
training.
those statements, she was blind. She can see now. So you guys
Yeah.
still have life. This is a conversation.
The last scene that we get to before we bring Calum in is Winterfell. And so we've got a scene here with Ramsay, Karstark, and Umber, who was pretty kick-ass, actually. Obviously loyal to the Starks, and you could really see that there was clear contempt there for Ramsay. Was no way bending the knee.
This would be my favorite scene.
Fuck kneeling. Fuck kneeling, he actually said. And again, some of the dialogue there. I like fighting wildlings. I've been doing it all my life, but there's too many to beat it back alone. And again, that speaks to the lone theorists out there that or the R plus L equals J questioners.
It has been asked before.
It's
which
too much.
Character would you identify with? I don't even know this dude's name, but I identify
Small
with
John Umber.
this fucking dude. That guy is the shit.
In terms of the story that's going, I see this episode as 2 ways. There's the story arc and the story progression. It's like, yeah, it's a bit slower than the last 2, and why is it so slow, and why is it? But actually, it's just listen to, read it differently. Is somebody else? Is one of them outside? Needs them to come back in. Really sorry about this. This is so distracting. Fucking cats. Yeah, she wants to come back in. Come on. That's Brienne, by the way. Brienne is being like disruptive. Oh, it feels like we're never going to get to it. We're almost at the end. Read this 2 ways. So watch this. Please go back and watch this. If you thought this was the shittiest episode ever, which I did, please go back and watch it with bearing in mind that this may be an episode that's speaking a slightly different pace and a slightly different story. Episode 3,
language.
Change it very slightly. Maybe we're now starting to break our oaths. This is what, maybe R plus L equals J is the manifesto, and maybe we need to start breaking our oaths about it. I know that could be the message, but go back and look at it, watch it again, because I think you'll pick up your own interpretations of what's said. It's all in the dialogue. This episode, it's all in the dialogue.
The title, you were going to throw in the title. I know you just.
No, yeah. What I was going to say from I see it as there's a surface story, and then there's another message being told in this episode. I don't know whether it's going to go same the rest of the season, but just in terms of the surface episode, I felt those expressions between Asher and Rickon when the kind of the wool or the bags came off, which made me, it's kind of confirmed to me that this is Rickon's the Trojan horse, whether he knows it or not. And I felt as though there was the expression between Asher seemed to look at Rickon as if it was like, okay, play along with what we've agreed, just do what we said, everything will be okay, we're here. That's what I got from it. Maybe it's not. Maybe Rickon and Asher will burn on the crosses next episode. Who knows? But I think I think that wasn't Shaggy Dog. I don't think the head was big enough. I think that it was just, the whole thing was just a bluff for Ramsay to buy it, and he did buy it. But there's something in this particular scene that we talked about and that you wanted to bring up about the Ramsay saying, how do I know that that's Rickon Stark? And it's, again, it plays to the, how do we know? Is it Jon Stark? Is it Jon Targaryen? Is it Jon, who is this person? And the proof, or is it proof, is the wolf's head.
Get to your point. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
My thing that I had to say about this scene was, I think this is going to be the farce at White Harbor.
Okay.
Which is the farce at White Harbor scene. You have.
So in the books, this is Manderley, White Harbor.
And I don't think we're going to get that, just because I don't see Davos traveling to White Harbor or anybody trying to get their support. I think the Manderleys have already been said that they're there.
I don't know if any Manderley. I think Manderleys may have been cast. I'm not sure. So we may get there later. I mean, we're only episode 3, remember?
Yeah, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Which is, there's a character in there called Wylla, and the whole fucking chapter is brilliant because you have Lady Leona, Lady Lyanna, Rhaegar Frey. So Lady Leona is betrothed to Rhaegar Frey. So Lyanna's betrothed to Rhaegar. And you have this little girl, Wylla, who's not in on the performance that's about to happen, whereas everybody else is. It's kind of like a reversed mirror of the Mercy chapter, where we have
the play.
We have characters that we don't know playing characters that we do know. Here we have characters that we do know in the books. Making a performance that they're not aware that they're actually doing. It's fucking beautiful. But anyways, that's what's going to happen here. Sorry, I apologize. Bran's not in on it. Bran doesn't know what's going on. His reaction is needed. He has to believe that the events that are unfolding are happening around him, so that Ramsay's going to believe him.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the farce of White Harbor put.
But it might not be.
Winterfell.
It might be that he kills him, and that it is the show producers just go, oh, we need to tie up Rickon. Let's get out of
Possible.
here. And it could be a different way that they're going in the show.
There is the thing too, which
would be
maybe
horrible.
you were alluding to.
I'll be devastated if that really is Shaggy Dog.
In the books, we have people bringing Cersei heads of dwarves.
Yes.
These heads aren't the correct size.
Yeah.
And I think it's
good
noted.
point. Yeah. Yeah.
So Claire said that's not big enough to be a direwolf's head. I mean, it looked like a direwolf. It looked like the dead direwolf's head from the very first episode, and it looked like the direwolf's head that was on Robb. Except the one on Robb was huge. This one's a pretty small direwolf's head. So you have that. Is Ramsay smart enough to pick up on that? Will that be why they get ousted?
It's misdirection.
Yeah. There's possibilities there.
Are we ready to?
Let's give Calum a call.
Okay.
I'm gonna actually message him. So why don't you just
I've
talk
just
about
done that.
stuff?
I've just done that. So can you call him? He's ready.
Cool. Thanks for letting me
while
know.
you're doing that, I'll just say we're going to go back to the end of the episode where we're going to talk about the wall.
Well, let's see what Calum wants to say.
And there's a few points that Calum wants to bring up. I shall just get to them
For some
here
reason,
on my
we
phone.
don't have Calum here. Keep talking. Don't watch me.
Okay, sorry. Let me go back and have a look at Calum's. Did he add you on Google?
I don't know. Maybe I have to add him. Like there's Calum Hoods, but there's no just single Calum.
Right, okay, let me ask him. Sorry about this, peeps.
Apologies. This sucks.
Google.
Anyways, it was a fucking brilliant episode. I'm just gonna go try to add him on
Can you do it on
Google Plus? Talk to them. Say something wise and beautiful.
Okay, I'll say that if you bear in mind what we said earlier and you go back to some of the earlier scenes.
Just looking at LT GIles has a post up there. We'll post a link too. It's Daenerys.
He's on
why she wins. It's awesome. Yeah, no, I'm on Google Plus. Keep talking.
Okay. There's too many things going on. Too many things. He's going to add you, so you should.
I can see it. I can see his messages coming.
We'll get him up as soon as we get this Google Plus thing. I hate Google Plus. It's a real pain in the arse. Does anybody else find that? It's just so clunky and difficult to use. I have to use Google Mail for work emails and stuff. Oh, it's horrible. If you go back to the previous scenes, bearing in mind what we were talking about earlier, you have just thinking about the last scene, Alistair when he's talking to John at the end, and he said, "If I had a choice, I would do it all again. If I had to, knowing." What I knew, I'd make the same choice. I fought, I lost, and now I rest. And again, I thought that spoke to what we were saying before about the theories. And you, Lord Snow, are going to be fighting battles forever. And it just does feel as though this is exactly what we've been talking about with R plus L equals J. So I think it's just CALUM.
That's what I'm doing, but.
It
doesn't bring anything up.
Doesn't have a surname. Yeah.
But it comes to these people. There's no just Calum. So is he actually on?
I'm on Google Plus now, and I do have you listed as a friend, Claire. So I can get on it, but we're on your channel, not mine.
Yeah. Maybe. I'm friends with him on Hangouts, so I mean that should be. That's
no, you need to be connected to each other on Google Plus. Do we need to stop recording this now and then just do a new one? I don't know.
It's possible.
Maybe do a part 2.
We'll see. We'll see what people think. Let's just go a little bit longer here. And by the way, if this is boring for you and it looks like we're not going to get him on, fucking stop watching. What are you doing here? But I think there he is. He's added me to his circles.
Okay, we should get you on soon. But just we've been talking about the cats. We've got 3 cats. An old male cat who kind of lives upstairs now because of it's cat territory upstairs and it's dog territory downstairs. So we've got Marwin, the puppy, and we've got 3 cats upstairs. So the old cat is Basil, but the 2 girls who are 3. Yeah, they're just coming up to 3 years old. Brienne and Asher. So we should be able to, if you put CAL in there.
Oh, I just put C, and I'm looking at all the C's, but still it might be because we've just done it now that it's not.
I think we need to stop this and start a new.
Yeah.
One. So there'll be a part 2.
There will be a part 2 with our special guest. And you might hear some of this over again, but he hasn't heard any of this, by the way. He's just, because this isn't going out live, he hasn't heard it, so he doesn't know what we've just said. So maybe there'll be other points done in that as well. And maybe we'll just upload that one first.
Okay, we will be back very shortly. So
sorry, everybody.